Once upon a time, in a small village, there was a poor guy named Jaden, who lived with his old mother. In the past, Jaden's paternal family had been thieves for 3 generations, but by the end, they still had nothing left. Jaden also got all the tricks of stealing from his father. Despite being a kind guy, he still had to do this bad job to have the money to take care of his old mother. Jaden looked sad. He thought, "Am I right when doing these things? Although we have money to overcome difficulties, I still feel very bad." Jaden's mother was really upset when she knew that Jaden still had to do the bad things every single day. This had happened for a long time. Then one day, she became seriously ill and was bedridden. Jaden's thoughts went back and forth. He worriedly thought, "This is a case of emergency. Mom is seriously ill, but we have no money left. How can I get money to cure Mother?" Jaden had no choice but to risk stealing more and more, until one day he was caught red-handed. "I thought it was someone else, but that was you, Jaden the thief."
The nature can never be changed. 3 generations of stealing, you will be no different. Teach him a lesson.
Jaden was frightened. He looked at the farmers and said, "Please, please forgive me." The 2 villagers angrily hit Jaden.
Forgive you? Forgive you?
Beaten by the villagers, Jaden went back home with nothing. His mother's illness was also getting worse. Beside the bed, Jaden held a bowl of medicine. He said gloomily, "Mom, try to have this. I just bought it for you." His sick mother nodded her head and said, "My dear, stop stealing. I would rather die than drink this bowl of medicine, which was bought by stealing money. Just give up and be a good man. That is my last wish." Listening to the advice of his mom, Jaden decided to find his way back to normal life. But the only thing Jaden could get was the suspicious eye of the villagers wherever he went. Jaden was walking. 2 villagers saw him. They were startled as they stared at Jaden. They quickly left. Jaden watched them leaving and sighed. "Be a good person? But how can I get away from everyone's suspicion?" Jaden stopped. He had an idea. "If I do all good things to make up for the mistakes I've made, will everyone accept it? That's right, I have to try." Right after that, Jaden met David, a thug who lived by stealing. David held Jaden's arm, happily saying,
"Oh, Jaden, my idol, I admire your family's reputation. Do you want to create a gang of thieves with me? We will quickly become rich and famous."
Jaden froze and asked, "Who are you?" David smiled and pointed to himself.
"I'm David, who lives on the other side of this hill. My stealing skills are also very good."
Jaden thought and shook his head, refusing the offer. "No, David, I don't want to be a thief anymore. I want to be a good person." David laughed out loud and said,
"What? Good person?"
"A guy with 3 generations of thieves, living by stealing?
How can you say that? Are you kidding me? Did I get something wrong?"
Jaden frowned and reclaimed, "That's it, David. Believe me, we can work hard together, and until one day, everyone will have a different view of us." David angrily said,
"You are crazy, ridiculous. What a hypocrite.
Your family has 3 generations worth of thieves,
and you want to be a good person? Whatever you do, people will always consider you a thief."
Then David turned and walked away. Jaden watched in shock. Since then, Jaden started to work harder to earn his living. He always tried to find opportunities to help others. Near the village, there was a big river flowing across. Every day, all villagers had to cross that river. Every time there was a flood, no one dared cross it. However, no bridges had been built at all to help the villagers. Jaden talked to the leader of the village. "Sir, why haven't we built a bridge to help the villagers here?" The leader of the village shook his head and said,
"It's difficult, very difficult. In the past, many people thought about that, but nobody wanted to sacrifice the time.
so they all gave up. Everyone would be very grateful to anyone who could build a bridge. Jaden's eyes lit up. He was very delighted. Why don't I try to build a bridge to help everyone? It's a good thing to make up for my mistakes from before. From that very day, apart from the time taking care of his mother, Jaden went to the jungle to cut wood and transfer the wood panels back to the bank to build a bridge. But the river was so wide, which made it hard for him to build alone. Therefore, even though he worked so hard, he could only finish a small part of it every day. Everyone had also started to pay attention to what Jaden was doing. 3 people gathered and whispered together.
That's Jaden the thief. What is he doing?
I'm not sure. Perhaps he wants to build a bridge.
Oh well, how can anyone be patient enough to build the bridge? I bet he's up to something.
Many people couldn't understand what Jaden was doing. They tried to throw stones at him because they thought that Jaden was planning on stealing something there. When Jaden worked by the river during the daytime, he could look after and arrange the wood very neatly. However, when he was not there at night, the evil thieves came again, stealthily taking away the best wooden boards. They also pushed all the lathes that Jaden had carefully prepared into the river. And the next day, Jaden would simply start it all over again. Struggling with many difficulties, Jaden never gave up. He determined to finish the bridge as an atonement to the villagers. Due to working too hard, one day, Jaden was exhausted and fell down by the river. Fortunately, a luxurious carriage carrying the Wyatt noble family passed by. Wyatt and his daughter, Laura, stopped and helped Jaden. After a while, he recovered. Jaden smiled, bent down, and said, "Thank you very much for helping me."
Who are you? Why did you faint here?
I'm Jaden. I'm building a bridge for the villagers to use when the flood season comes. Laura was surprised. That is a meaningful deed. I am Laura, and this is my father. We are the Wyatt noble family. Nice to meet you. Jaden sighed and said, "Because of my mistakes in the past, and those of my family members who used to be thieves for 3 generations, I want to change and do good things to redeem myself," Laura said sympathetically. "Don't be sad. No regrets are late. I really admire your will to be a good person," Wyatt said sadly.
We also have the same situation. Our family has been noble for a long time, but in the past, they did many evil things and left us a huge fortune. In spite of being rich, we still have to suffer from all sorts of bad reputations and live in fear.
Wyatt thought and said,
I want to contribute my effort and money to build this bridge with you. Will you agree?
Jaden happily nodded. That would be great. With your help, the bridge will be completed very soon. After that, Wyatt and Jaden built the bridge together. Wyatt spent his money to hire people to work and to buy the best materials for building the bridge. With more people working together, the speed of building the bridge was also much faster, and soon the solid pillars of the bridge were completed. They took turns looking after the construction of the bridge by the river so that thieves wouldn't dare come to sabotage at night. Knowing that Jaden also had to take care of his mother, Laura went to live with Jaden's mother in the small house and took care of her. Every day, Laura brought food to her father and Jaden. The 2 young people gradually fell in love with each other. Laura admired Jaden's hard work and his kindness. He also admired her as the daughter of a noble family. But Laura was always happy and close to everyone. Time went by, everything kept going, and the bridge was soon finished. Right on the night that the bridge had been completed, a great storm came, bringing a fierce flood to the village. The village leader stood in the rain and called to everyone in fear. "Run quickly, everyone! Leave all the properties behind! This is an incredible flood! The water is about to sink our village!" The people in the village rushed to find their way out in the dark. The 2 villagers exclaimed in panic,
Where can we run? How can we be faster than the floodwaters? Gosh, how do I know? Is anyone there? Please help us. The leader of the village stood in front of Jaden's new bridge. He quickly waved his hand, shouting, "Here's a new bridge! Everyone run across the river! We can get away from the flood!" What? Where? Where is a bridge? Is it safe? Does it really matter now? Run across the bridge immediately! Right! Run, or the flood will kill us all! The villagers hurriedly ran across the bridge to the other side of the river to avoid the flood. The bridge was extremely stable and stood strongly before the big waves. That night, the historic flood swept across the village, devastating all their possessions. However, all were lucky to escape safely. When the water receded, the villagers returned together, but everything was just rubble. Horrible! It was the biggest flood I've ever seen in my life. Fortunately, all of us are safe. Our lives are the most precious thing. The leader of the village happily said, "We are all safe, thanks to the bridge." Wait, just the day before, I didn't even know it existed. I know, it's the bridge which was built by Jaden and his friends. Right, it's Jaden the thief. He saved our lives. Yet the day before, we stoned him and chased him away. What a shame. No problem. I'm glad everyone is safe now. It's Jaden. It's him. The leader of the village approached happily, patting Jaden's shoulder. He said, "Jaden, on behalf of the villagers, thank you very much. Thanks to you and the bridge, everyone can be safe now. I'm very happy because you gave up your bad deeds to be a good person. Welcome back to our village." Jaden smiled happily, nodding in thanks. Suddenly, there was a loud cry. "Catch him! He's the thief!" It turned out that the thief was David, the thug who always wanted to invite Jaden to continue doing bad things. Thief David quickly ran. Behind him were 3 villagers chasing. He was dressed in ragged clothes. They ran to grab David. Jaden was really surprised. He approached and asked, "David, is that you?" David stared blankly at Jaden. He was surprised. Then David stammered, "Jaden, the thief?" "He is indeed Jaden, but he is a good man, not the thief anymore." What? He is a good man? Everyone, please forgive David this time so he can start over. Is that okay? They released David, laughed, and said, "If so, we will forgive you for once." David was shocked. He could not believe that people let him go so easily. David stared at Jaden and stammered, You have been recognized by everyone? How can you do that?" "Didn't I tell you? As long as I try and continue doing good things, then there comes one day that everyone will have to change their mind about me." David was so embarrassed. He said, "Just blame me for not listening to you. It's too late to regret." Jaden said, "Nothing is too late. Promise me, try to correct your mistakes and everyone will welcome you back." David hesitated and nodded. After that, everyone worked together to reconstruct the village. With the contribution of everyone, the village was soon rebuilt as good as before. After the bridge was completed, Jaden's mother miraculously recovered. Together, they built a bigger house in order to replace the old small one. The Wyatt family no longer had to suffer from their bad reputation. On the contrary, they were respected and loved by everyone in the region. Soon after that, the marriage of Jaden and Laura was made official. Everyone in the village was there to bless them, and they lived happily ever after.